Welcome to the Men of Honor podcast. My name is Corey, your host, and I really got onto this podcast episode without not really planning anything to say. There's a few things that I have on my mind, and it's a conversation I had recently, and it was about mental health. And we were talking about how it's more and more acceptable as men to actually go out and talk about your mental well-being. And now with COVID and everything, everything that you feel and that is negative within inside you has multiplied, magnified. It's huge now. And whether if you had issues in the marriage, if you had issues with yourself, self-esteem, and all those things are amplified just because of the fact that we've been knocked, of our paths, where we were, going through our lives and doing all these other things. Now we just either forced to stay at home or just go to work and stay at home. So, yeah, we're talking about this, and this was inspired because we're talking about a friend of ours who had actually committed suicide, and it was one of those things we're talking about, that there has been improvements in terms of communication and really getting the awareness that it's okay for men to go out and talk about their feelings and talk about what they're struggling with and talk about that they're depressed and the reasons why and all these things. But the messaging that is out there is that it's slightly diluted, only because I understand the power of messaging from a business standpoint or marketing standpoint. I have realized that some of the messaging or the people that are creating the messaging are predominantly English, and I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying that generally when you get into a situation where a specific type of group are putting out information, they put out information from that perspective, and it got me thinking about the African perspective or the Indian perspective or the Asian perspective. Because of those cultural differences, some of the things that people speak about we cannot relate. So I can relate because I've been living in the UK for a very long time, and I come from a country that was colonized by the UK, which, again, culturally, the transition of culture and how I behave and think was not that massive. But then there's people that have not been exposed to any English culture or any American culture or any other, and those kind of communication, even though they hear what you're saying, there's no relationship between that cultural background to what you're saying, which makes them not necessarily prepared to accept, and they suffer in silence. Because we're talking about this, then, even though there's all this information on how to get better, there's still a lot of men that are still suffering in silence. And one of the reasons is because of this nuance area, because nobody talks about it. And this is the reason why we have this podcast. And I come from an African background, so I want to speak out in coming up from that African sense. And I would like to get people from other cultural backgrounds to come on and speak about mental health and talk about overcoming mental health. And I think on one of the episodes that we have here, we had an incredible gentleman that came over, and he was speaking about his mental health challenges. It's Mr. Sam, and it was absolutely amazing because he showed so much courage and so much bravery to come out and just actually talk about his own issues. And it's not the fact that it was issues, the courage and strength of being able to speak was him actually making his mark and really just showing that, this thing that is giving me troubles is not going to defeat me. I'm going to take control of this thing and speak out about it. And that has caused him to be vulnerable and be able to open up conversations with people, and that is quite inspirational. And those are the sort of conversations I want to start continuing opening with different people, especially from different ethnic backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds as well. Just when I say European, I also have some other friends that are Eastern European that are very strong. They have a very cultural thing where the man has to be show this real masculine type of behavior that is very shut off from being open and stuff like that. So those are the people I want to start getting to talk to, so that when people listen to this podcast, they can be open to see somebody that they can relate to talking about mental health, and then actually open that dialogue and conversation so even more people can be helped in this area. And I just wanted to make this episode because it's something that's been on my mind, and I didn't really know how to share it without somebody thinking, oh my God, this guy's racist, or, but it's nothing to do with that. It's more to do with that. We want to create a way of getting the message to resonate with everyone. If messaging is so important, and it's vital that we can actually start really focusing on this part. We've done the initial bit of making it okay for men to speak, but now we need to start going into that nuanced bit of really being able to pick out different cultural backgrounds. All these other little differences that make us unique and amazing is definitely something that we now need to start looking at. So thank you very much for listening. It's a very, very short one, but it's just something that I was on my mind, and I thought it would be interesting to talk about. If you've got any questions, or you want to come on to the Men of Honor podcast, I'd like to invite you. Talk about whether it's mental health, or whether you've got a message that you want to talk to encourage people about mental health. That would be absolutely amazing. Get in touch. You can send me a message on Instagram, and that would be absolutely incredible. Thank you very much. Take care.